Bienvenidos! NASCAR is in Mexico City, and on today's podcast, I'm going to tell you all about it. Let's jump right in. As always, couple storylines. Denny Hamlin picking up another win, picking up his third, still waiting on, well, at the time he was still waiting on baby boy Denny Hamlin. But because of said child, while Denny tied the season lead in wins with 3, he's not going to get number 4 this weekend, not in Mexico City for the Mexico City race because of the birth of his child and the timing of it, as it is well marked. If the child was not delivered by a certain time, he wasn't going to be able to get down to Mexico, fly there, get through customs, and be able to fly back quickly. So he's taking a week off. And NASCAR, I was waiting to see if they were going to do it today, and it appears that NASCAR has officially granted him a waiver for missing a race where he will still be playoff eligible. So while he got his third last week, he's not getting his fourth this week. That gets us caught up on all the Denny Hamlin news. Who else made some headlines? Carson Hocevar. Does he have the world's worst luck in NASCAR right now? Another quick run, a potential career first win at the Cup Series level for the youngin, the guy with tons of potential, very polarizing figure. And we all saw what happened this week at Michigan. He's bringing speed every single week. Spire Motorsports, maybe they could be on their way to be making their first playoff appearance with Hocevar, and McDowell ain't that far off either. Does Hocevar have bad luck? I think he has a lot of it, but if you bring speed every week, eventually you're going to find victory lane, and Hocevar's hoping that is before the playoffs start. I've been talking about it for a couple weeks now. How different are the playoffs going to look after these road course races? To my viewers, do you know how many road course races we have coming up? Has anybody happened to maybe look at the schedule? This week we're at Aerodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. Then we go to Pocono, not a road course. Right? Then it's Echo Park Speedway, not a road course. And then Chicago Street Race in Sonoma. So 3 of the next 5 weeks are road courses. And then there's still Watkins Glen before the playoffs, which means there is 4 more road courses before the playoffs. And there's only 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 races. 4 out of 11 races before the playoffs are road course races, and one of them is a super speedway in Daytona. So there's a lot of chaos still to come in this regular season. A lot of people that could win that maybe you don't expect to, or maybe aren't in on points, that could throw the playoff cut line completely out of whack. And as we get closer to the NASCAR playoffs, I will start showing you guys where the current points line is, where the cut line is, and how the regular season points are stacking up. I'm not going to quite do it yet with 11 races yet. But yes, 3 out of the next 5 races are on road courses, and 4 out of the next 11. And then there's only 1 more. The whole rest of the year after that. So it's definitely the summer of road courses, and I think it could completely shake up the playoff race. I mean, you think guys like Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott gotta feel like they're super safe on points. But I would say the rest of that points cut line, Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Kyle Busch, Ryan Preece, all of those guys, Chris Buescher, are hanging around the cut line. And if any of them win, they get locked in. But some of these guys that are less than 100 points off the cut line, these road course races, new winners, or somebody who's a road course ace that's back on points, it can really, really screw up what has been at least a solid season for some of these teams. So you definitely want to find victory lane soon. And if you can't find victory lane, you better figure out how to get enough points from these road course races, or some of these guys might be able to close the gap. Obviously, the news last week, it was leaked that Dodge is coming back to NASCAR. Just in the Truck Series, though, they're not coming back for Xfinity or Cup Series. But it does seem, to me at least, that the natural progression will be once they get comfortable in the Truck Series and um, start figuring out the sport again. It seems likely to me that eventually they might end up in the Cup and or Xfinity Series. So with that news, everybody in the comments, I want you to write who you think the next manufacturer is that hits the Cup Series. Obviously, right now it's Chevy, Ford, and Toyota. Is it Dodge? There's a lot of rumors that maybe Honda is still, sniffing around, seeing if they can get into the highest levels of stock car racing, or maybe it's somebody out of the blue, right? Obviously, the whole point of NASCAR is supposed to be North American manufacturers and all of that. So maybe you don't see maybe a lot of cars don't fit the bill, but you know, Oldsmobile, right? I don't think they're ever going to return for obvious reasons, but they used to be in the sport. Pontiac used to be in the sport for a long time. So there's some other manufacturers. Maybe Cadillac kicks the tires. Who knows? But in the comments below, I want you to tell me who you think the next or the first new manufacturers, because maybe we end up with 6 manufacturers in NASCAR down the line, right? You never know. Put your answer in the comments below. What is Mexico City's turnout? I'm very interested. Obviously, this kind of reminds me of some of the other new things NASCAR has done. I imagine this first year there should be a pretty good turnout. They do have a stadium portion of the race with lots of seating. It's a lot of effort to get essentially pack up NASCAR and bring it all down to Mexico City, drive all the haulers down there, bring all your personnel down there, etc., etc. But I think if there's a good turnout and they think they're going to keep making money, maybe this is something we keep seeing, even if you're not a fan of it. I'm interested to see what the turnout is. If I'm also interested to see who's turning out. If it turns into like more of an F1 style event because it's in Mexico, it's hard to travel to. Maybe the tickets are expensive because it's a rare event, or if it's more of your common NASCAR folk, or I don't know, maybe NASCAR is really well liked in Mexico, and I just am not aware about it. I doubt it. And there's a lot of locals that turn out, and most likely probably a combination of all of those things, right? But I'm interested to see how big the turnout is, who's turning out, and does NASCAR think they can replicate whatever the turnout is? And then this is the first points race since 1958 held outside of the United States for NASCAR. What is a new city or track that NASCAR has never been to? So don't say Rockingham. I'm with you guys. I want us to return to Rockingham just as bad as the next guy, even if it seems unlikely. But what is a new city or track that you guys think NASCAR should go to or kick the tires on, whether it's a new street race, whether there's an oval nearby? The second bit of homework for you guys, I want that answer in the comments below. Maybe you guys want to try putting a clash in Europe, even though that sounds insane. I don't think NASCAR's never had a fly anything anywhere. They'd like to keep it where they can drive. Maybe Montreal. Maybe the Cup Series goes and races in Portland like the Xfinity Series does. Maybe there's, somewhere closer to New York City, right? Maybe you go back and find somewhere in LA. Who knows? But any new track, new city that you like, that you know of, that maybe NASCAR has never had a footprint in before, put in the comments below. It can even be putting together a street course like NASCAR has in Chicago. History at road courses. Do not beef with me if you are a believer that there's only 16 road courses in the next gen era that have been raced. You are right. The reason why I say 18 is because I am adding in the Chicago street course races the last 2 years into these stats. So I added Chicago with all of the other road courses, made them into one so you can see all this information here. If you're wondering where I got 18, that's where I got it from. Additionally, Mexico City is not technically a street course, but I think it has street course elements, as some of the roads that are part of the track are meant to be used for other things than the track. It's like this weird half and half situation. It technically is classified as a road course, but I think it's kind of half road course, half street course hybrid. And I did not put down all 18 winners. What I did is I put the last 6 winners at road/street courses here. Last March 2024, William Byron at Coda. So this is all of the road courses from last year and the one from this year. That's really what it is. Last June, Kyle Larson won Sonoma. Last July, Alex Bowman wins Chicago, the street course. Last September, Chris Buescher won at Watkins Glen. That is his last win. And it was in the playoffs, even though he wasn't there. Also, Alex Bowman's last win was in Chicago on a road course. Last October, Kyle Larson won the Roval. And obviously, the only road course race this year, all the way back in March, was Christopher Bell winning at Coda. Best average finish. My rule here is you have to have started at least half of the races on next gen on road or street courses to qualify. So if you don't see somebody on the list, that is why. Chris Buescher, who would have guessed? Best average finishing position of 7.9. Chase Elliott averaging a top 10. And Chase Elliott's numbers, if you look at his career numbers are better than his next gen numbers. I don't know if that means anything. You can determine that. I think we can all draw different conclusions. Tyler Reddick at 10.2. Christopher Bell right behind him at 10.3. And then William Byron and Ross Chastain are tied with an average finish of 13.3. As you can see, I did put my asterisk. I do want to mention Shane Van Gisbergen since he has been racing a lot of them recently, and he is a rookie this year. He has only started a couple of these races, but he has an average finish in the top 10. All right. Most top 5s, most top 10s, and guys with multiple wins. All of this is using all 18 races. So here you go. Most top 5s in next gen. Chase Elliott with 9 leading the pack. Tyler Reddick with 8, second. And then there is a 3-way tie for third with William Byron, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Busch. All of these names make sense. They're big names. They have performed well on road courses for a long time. No surprises here. And then most top 10s. You're like, oh, Chris Buescher has the best average finish, but he isn't top 5 and top. He isn't. Yeah, top 5 and top 5s. Well, he's number 1 in top 10s with 14 of the 18 races finishing on the top 10. Tyler Reddick at 13. Chase Elliott at 11. Chase Elliott only has 11 top 10s, but 9 of those 11 are top 5s. Maybe it's kind of an all or nothing sometimes. AJ Allmendinger with 10. Christopher Bell with 10, and Michael McDowell, a maybe more secretive road course ringer. He does have a win on a road course, just like AJ Allmendinger does in the next gen. Or maybe Allmendinger's wasn't in the next gen, but anyway, 10 and 10. And then multiple wins. There's only 4 drivers with multiple wins. And these drivers account for 10 of the 18 victories at road courses and street courses. Kyle Larson and Reddick have 3 apiece, and then William Byron and Christopher Bell have 2 apiece. So I think you can get a picture of the 5 or 6 favorites based off of this. But if you can't, let me help you out here. My favorites to win. I'm going to go look at the teams first. Racing team favorites. Hendrick Motorsports, they have the most wins. They have all 4 of their drivers have road course wins in the next gen. All 4 of them usually do pretty well. Hendrick Motorsports has got to be the favorite to grab the win this week in Mexico City. Joe Gibbs Racing. Christopher Bell is one of the best. I don't know if it helps or hurt that Denny Hamlin's out, but he's never been a star road course racer. Ty Gibbs is he's a little sneaky. He has a pretty good average finish. He's getting better and better on road courses. He was fast last week. And Chase Briscoe, I don't know. He's kind of all or nothing on road courses. He's had some good runs, had some bad runs. But I do think Joe Gibbs, not only because they have some guys that with good road course history, but they also just bring fast race cars. Team Trackhouse at 3. Not only do they have Shane Van Gisbergen, who is appropriately loved and appropriately given the credit for his prowess on these types of tracks and courses, but Ross Chastain's pretty darn good too. He has a win at Coda. And he has quite a few top 10s himself. Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez also has a win on road courses. So, Trackhouse racing is pretty quick. They seem to have this type of racing figured out. I have them all the way up to 3rd over top of one of the teams that's normally in the top 3 in Team Penske. And I have 23XI there as well. Tyler Reddick is one of the best road course racers in all of NASCAR. Maybe his two teammates aren't. Bubba sometimes is good, sometimes is bad. I think he's getting a little bit better. Who knows what to expect out of Riley Herbst? But I have 23XI fourth, mostly because of the strength of Tyler Reddick. And then I have Team Penske fifth. I thought about doing RFK for Chris Buescher. I thought about doing RCR because RCR has been quick on road courses. There's somewhat of an alliance there with Chevrolet and their road course racing. That's why Hendrick's fast. That's why Trackhouse is fast. But I'm going with Team Penske because they're still going to be fast, and I don't want to be disrespectful. And they still have Austin Cindric, who's very historically good on road courses. Blaney seems like he figures them out. And Joey Logano is one of the best drivers in the sport, even if the speed from the team isn't always there. And I don't feel like it's fair to take them out of the top five, even if it doesn't seem like they have as an obvious path to success. So those are the teams I like. How about driver rankings? Well, a name you're going to probably hear a lot coming up with all these road courses. Shane Van Gisbergen sitting there, first place, favorite to win this week. I think this type of track plays into his strengths quite well. Not just his strength of road course racing, but the style of road course racing. Chris Buescher, maybe some people don't have him as their second favorite. I do. He's hungry for a win. Last swim was on a road course. He's pretty quick. Not only is he quick, best average finishing position on road courses for a reason. Chris Buescher is hungry for that win, and I think he could very well find it this week. Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott, arguably the three most consistent road course drivers, definitely three of the top five most consistent guys the last couple of years. They don't need an introduction. Those three guys should all be in the top 10 fighting for a top five this week. William Byron kind of goes in that group too. William Byron, multiple road course wins. He's number one in the points this year for a reason. William Byron, I expect to be a fixture. Christopher Bell and Ross Chastain are both guys that have won road course races in the recent past. Both have had speed this year. Both are top 10 in points. Both of them have had a lot of speed the last month or so. I would not be surprised to see Christopher and Bell make a charge for a top five and sit in the top 10. Kyle Busch had a good week last week. He's in the cut line. They desperately need to perform well. But as I said, that Chevrolet alliance seems to work out well for a lot of the big name Chevy teams. And I think Kyle Busch is somebody, you may not always think of it, and he may be struggling the last 2 years with RCR. But make no mistake, Kyle Busch is still one of the most overall talented drivers in the sport, and I think he shows why this week. AJ Allmendinger, he's been faster on ovals than he's supposed to with Kaulig Racing. He's won some road courses with Kaulig Racing. He's won a lot in the Xfinity Series with Kaulig Racing. If there's a time where Kaulig Racing can steal a race on a road course, it's with AJ Allmendinger. And I expect the Dinger to find some speed this weekend. There is a race team and two drivers that both race for a race team that literally are just off this list. And that's Spire Motorsports, starting to be very consistent with speed. Best season, I would say, best start to a season they've ever had, I would say. And McDowell is very good on road courses. I think Kosovar hasn't raced on him a lot, but does well when he has, and he's very aggressive, which I think will play out. I think Spire with McDowell and Hocevar are just off of both of these lists, but I would not be shocked at all to see them competing not just for a lot of points, but for a win, one, if not both of them. Keep an eye out on Spire Motorsports. Keep an eye out for the 77 and the 71. Everybody's favorite list, the driver power rankings, and boy, is there some movement this week. William Byron is still at one. Had a pretty good run going, had some issues in the third stage, some pit stop issues that kind of took him out of race winning contention, but he got a lot of points, had a good finish with lots of speed. Denny Hamlin moving up to 2 on the back of his victory. And I was considering putting him 1, but I think William Byron was first most of that race and got enough points to keep him 1. And William Byron is racing this weekend, so Kyle Larson found his way to a top 10 finish. Didn't win the race though. Denny Hamlin passed him, but Kyle Larson kind of a fixture at the top of the list here. Christopher Bell, again, these top 4 have kind of been top 4 for a long time now, and it's for good reason. They're also top 4 in points. Go figure. Even though that Denny Hamlin might take a little bit of a hit this weekend not racing. Those guys I would still say are my tier A championship contenders, my tier 1A championship contenders. Maybe we can throw Ryan Blaney in there with him, even though he's down there at 7. But here, the rest of these guys are my tier 1B. Chase Elliott in 5th had a good run going last week. Again, made an error. He led some laps, made an error. Didn't quite rebound all the way where maybe he should have. Still had an okay points week. Michigan was kind of a wild race. Reddick had a great week, moving back up in the power rankings, getting some momentum. Maybe it's time for Reddick or Chase Elliott to get their first win. I have them 5 or 6. A win would lock them into the playoffs. They are the 2 highest point scorers amongst the drivers who have not won a race this year for a reason. Reddick and Elliott both had some speed last week, both building momentum. Maybe it's for a reason this weekend. Ryan Blaney had top 10 speed all day and then hit the wall and didn't finish too good, finishing outside the top 30. He's done that a lot this year. I expect Ryan Blaney to keep having speed. I still think he's a championship contender, and I still think by the end of the year, their luck will even out. Ross Chastain, another steady, just solid day, lots of points, and he's kind of starting to climb an inch closer and closer to some of the guys ahead of him in the points. Ross Chastain having a great summer, a great late spring. It's been a great 4 to 6 weeks for him, and he can certainly capable of keeping it going this weekend. Bubba Wallace, back-to-back good finishes when he needed it. He had 3 or 4 tough weeks in a row, really lost points, lost ground to the cut line, needed 2 good weeks in a row. He got it. Bubba Wallace back into the top 10 of the power rankings. Joey Logano had a rough week, so he's dropping to that 10th spot. I still have him ahead of Bubba Wallace. I have him in that tier 1B of championship contenders, and I have Bubba Wallace in that second tier. I still think I trust Joey Logano come playoffs more than Bubba, but right now Bubba is hotter than Joey, hence why Bubba's ahead of him. Joining Bubba in that second tier, Chris Buescher and Chase Briscoe, 11 and 12. Buescher had a great weekend, finishing second. Thought he might have been able to find victory lane this weekend, last weekend. But another great opportunity for the guy with the best average finish. Buescher is collecting points. He's not that far off of some of the guys in front of him where he can start putting, even if it, a little bit of points and, 1 or 2 more drivers behind him towards the cut line. That's always nice. Chase Briscoe, for the 3rd week in a row, won the pole. And for the 2nd week in a row, got stage points in the first stage and then lost tracks position and was never able to quite make it back up. It's a great starting on the pole, but at some point you got to figure out how to stay up front all day. If Chase Briscoe and the 19 team with James Smalls can figure that out, they could very well be a top 10 team in NASCAR, top 8 team. Is it driver? Is it crew chief? Is it pit crew? I don't really know. I think it's something different every week. That team's got to figure it out. But they certainly have speed and capability with Joe Gibbs Racing. Kyle Busch sneakily raising up. Kyle Busch tied for 15th in the points, right there on the cut line. Not only is he right there on the cut line, but he had a good week last week, running around to a top 10 finish and heading into a road course where I think he's better than a lot of the guys around him, especially if RCR brings some road course speed. Ryan Preece, another guy with the top 10. How about RFK Racing with 3 cars in the top 10 last week? It was a great week for RFK Racing. Preece collecting some points. Again, he's right there on that playoff cut line trying to make his first playoff appearance. Alex Bowman with another awful week. Most of the year, I've had him with the Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe tier, and I think he's still there. But man, that was a hard hit. He should be racing this week, but he's got to stop. They've got to get some luck going in the right direction. But I feel like if there's anybody that can come out of nowhere and win a race, Alex Bowman, i.e. last year at the Chicago Street Course. Don't count out Alex Bowman out yet. He's not great home points, or not as good as he was just a month ago. A lot of bad finishes in a row. Alex Bowman, I do think the luck will even out, and Hendrick Motorsports knows how to build fast road course cars. Carson Hocevar, slowly but surely knocking off points towards that playoff cut line. Needs to keep doing it. He's not doing it at a fast enough rate, and I think part of that is because he's not getting the finishes to match his speed due to getting hit in somebody else's wreck, making a mistake on pit road. having a tire randomly go flat, blowing an engine, all kinds of that kind of stuff for Hocevar this year, or he might already have clinched a playoff spot. Who knows? But Hocevar looks like he has speed pretty much every week, and I trust that he's going to be ready for a road course weekend where he historically, in his very short history, has done well. Josh Berry, a top 15 this week, and that's good enough for him to get going again, locked into the playoffs for him. But it's kind of been not great since he locked himself in the playoffs. Josh Berry, I think, rebounded a little bit this week. Still top 20 in points. I think if you're Josh Berry, you want to see if you can collect a couple more stage points, really collect some playoff points, and just get some momentum going towards the playoffs. Austin Cindric with kind of not a great week. Berry and Cindric, I think, are similar. They both got their race wins to lock them in, but you could argue if outside of a couple of tracks, if they're top 15, top 20 drivers on speed, and not just drivers, but teams, because there's a lot of tracks where Cindric and Berry just don't look like they have it. I do trust Cindric more than Berry on a road course. In fact, Cindric could have a pretty darn good points day this week, but it wasn't a great for him last week, and Cindric, kind of been uneven since winning his race. Eric Jones put together 2 pretty good weeks. He has some increased speed and, an 11th place finish this week, just missing back-to-back top 10s. But Eric Jones looks like having some consistent speed. And, he's a driver when given some cars that can do some damage. He has multiple wins in his career. Maybe Eric Jones and Legacy Motor Club has figured something out. He's not historically a good road course racer, but he's still hanging around the playoff cut line. They're still bringing him speed. Maybe he'll find a way to make playoffs on chaos. Just keep bringing fast cars. That's all you can ask. And then AJ Allmendinger, another guy. He's been around the playoff cut line. He's been in the playoffs. He's currently out of the playoffs. Maybe the Dinger continues his hot stretch and either wins or gets points to get back on the right side of the cut line. Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your days, weeks, and lives for listening. Go find a couch and watch sports this weekend. College baseball, NBA, NHL, all are setting up to be a great weekend. Go watch this, what will be a one-of-a-kind event this weekend for NASCAR. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Peace out.